Hello friends, this video on how do organisms reproduce part 8 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So let us now look at the last type of asexual reproduction, that is vegetative propagation. The word vegetative, it is related to the word vegetable. So that means it looks like that vegetative propagation is something which is common in plants, right? So let us see what it is. It is a mode of asexual reproduction in plants. In fact, we can say that it is the simplest mode of reproduction in plants, because in plants, sexual reproduction is also seen, and sexual reproduction in plants is little complex. It is not that simple, right? So here, plant parts gets detached from the parent and form a new plant. So a plant has many parts, right? It has the root, it has stems, it has leaves. So some part of the plant gets detached from the parent plant, and that part itself forms a new plant. That is what happens in vegetative propagation. So here the new plant which is formed is genetically identical to the parent plant. So this is asexual mode because only one plant is needed to produce a new plant. You do not need two different sexes as male and female, right? So now this vegetative propagation can happen from many plant parts. It can happen with the help of plant roots, it can happen with the help of shoots, it can also happen with the help of leaves, right? Now, broadly, this vegetative propagation is again of two types. One is natural vegetative propagation and the other one is artificial vegetative propagation. Natural vegetative propagation means something which happens naturally, which happens on its own in nature. So this the natural vegetative propagation can happen with plant roots, stems, or leaves. So these are the plant parts which gets detached from the parent plant and form a new plant altogether. And this detachment of the root, stem, or leaves happen on their own. I mean, we do not need to go and cut the root and then cut the stem or leaves to help to grow a new plant. So things happen naturally. So that is why they all fall under natural vegetative propagation. The next category is artificial vegetative propagation. So here we talk about certain artificial methods or certain man-made methods by which we can actually grow more plants. Like it will not happen on its own, but human beings can make plants grow. More plants grow from one plant. Like for example, if you have one rose plant in your house, but you want 10 rose plants to be there in your house. So that means you want that rose plant to reproduce. So now you want it. So what do? You artificially grow 10 more rose plants. So how do you grow? That is called artificial vegetative propagation. So there are certain methods with the help of which we can grow plants. So plants can be grown. There are some specific methods. So the methods which we will discuss under artificial vegetative propagation are cutting, layering, and grafting. These are the three important methods of doing vegetative propagation artificially. So these are some of the topics which we are going to discuss in detail now. So we will start with natural vegetative propagation. So first we will talk about vegetative propagation by roots. So how new plants arise from the roots of plant. Now this doesn't happen in all plants. Like each type of method or each type of mode of asexual reproduction is seen in some specific types of plants. So this vegetative propagation by roots is also seen in certain plants where buds develop in thick fleshy roots which later when put into soil develop into new plants. So there are certain plants which have thick fleshy roots. So this is a very important characteristic. So thick and fleshy roots. Why are those roots thick and fleshy? Because they store a lot of food materials. So because of the storage of these food materials, the roots become thick and fleshy. So now on these thick and fleshy roots, buds developed. So small plantlets start developing. Now since they already have a lot of food resource, so these buds start developing, and when these buds are put into soil separately, they grow into a new plant. So let us look at some of the examples. So the plants where we see these kind of propagation is guava, sweet potato, dahlia. These are some of the, dahlia is a flower plant. So these are some of the plants where we see these kind of asexual reproduction. So here how the roots look like. So if you look at the roots of the sweet potato, here you can see. So now if you look at the roots of sweet potato, what do you see? They are quite thick and fleshy. So when these are put into the soil, we see that new plants are formed. Similarly, the roots of dahlia, this is how it looks like. So now these kind of roots are often also known as tuberous roots. These roots of sweet potato are also called tuberous roots. Now these roots of dahlia, they are also swollen. So these swollen roots can be used for sowing the next season, and that is how it is used for propagating, right? Because they are swollen and thick, and on this you can see small buds arising. So from those buds only new plant will be formed. So similarly, this kind of propagation can also happen by stems. Now there are some modified stems which are given a new name called runners. Why are they called runners? Quite interesting. Now once I discuss about them, you will get to know why are they called runners. There are certain stems that grow horizontally above the ground. Horizontally but above the ground. So now normally when I talk of stem, what comes to your mind? Stem is going to be something which grows vertically. Roots are something which grows downwards. Right? This is the picture which comes to our mind when we talk of stems. But there are some kinds of stems which grow horizontally above the ground. That means they grow along this direction above the ground. And that is why they are called runners. Like somebody who runs, they run horizontally above the ground. So similarly, these plants also grow horizontally above the ground. That is why these stems are called runners. So let us look at some examples. Examples are grass and strawberry. So if you look at grass, so here you can see, do you notice something? That this stem, this is also a stem, this green colored structure. So it is actually running horizontally, and that is why these are known as runners. Now they have nodes at certain points. So these points are the nodes, and at these nodes buds are formed, and these buds give rise to new plants. So here also you can see the same thing. So this is a node where buds are formed and they gave rise to new plant. This is a node which gave rise to a new plant. This is a node which gave rise to a new plant. So these runners are those stems which will run in the horizontal direction but above the ground, and at certain points which are called nodes where they come in contact with the soil, there they will give rise to buds, and these buds will then grow into new plants. Similarly, we have similar kind of stems in grasses. These are known as runners. The similar type of stems are seen in plants of strawberry as well. But here if you see, it is little different. So in strawberry also, if you see, this is the stem. It runs above the ground but in the horizontal direction. And again it comes to this node. So here again a bud is formed and it gives rise to a new plant. Similarly again this stem will again go like this. Again at the node buds will be seen and a new plant will be formed. So the runners in case of strawberry plant are also given a name known as stolon. It is just another name for runners. So they are known as stolon. So this is the strawberry. So this is how stems are modified in strawberry, and this is how stems are modified in grass. Right? So this is something which is little unusual, right? We do not notice all these things in our day-to-day life. Normally when we think of stems, it is something which is growing vertically upward. So we also have these kind of stems, and these kind of stems actually give rise to more plants. So now here you see, we do not force this stem to grow in this fashion. This is how it grows naturally, and that is why we say that this is natural vegetative propagation. That means the plant by itself, its stem grows in such a way that it gives rise to new plants in due course of time. Now, if the stem keeps on growing in this fashion, just imagine how many new plants will be coming up in the next couple of years, right? Similarly, in case of this grass also, since the stem itself is growing like this, so it is very obvious that new plants will keep coming with passage of time. Now, in stems, there is another category as well. So, runners was one category of stem. There is another category of modified stem which are known as underground stems. There are certain stems which are under the ground, and they also help in growing new plants. So, let us look at some examples here. So, some common examples would be potato and onion. So, in case of potato, what happens? So this modified stem in potato is known as tuber. So this is given a name called tuber. So it is often called tuber of potato. So what is this? It is the fleshy underground storage structure. So it is nothing but an enlarged part of the stem. It is a part of this tuber which looks like this. I mean, you would have all seen this potato at your house. So it is nothing but enlarged part of a stem which is very fleshy. It is an underground structure, and it is also used for storage of food materials. You would have also seen on the surface of this potato tuber, you have small dot-like structures which are often known as eyes. They are often termed as eyes. So these are the points where buds arise, and from those buds aerial shoots arise in favorable conditions. You would have seen that if you keep a potato in your house for quite some time, you would see that from those eyes of the potato or the nodes of the potato, small leaf-like structures start growing. These leaf-like structures can gradually grow somewhat like this. So this is nothing but a germinating bud. So that means a bud which is actually growing. So here you see it has actually started growing a lot, and these dot-like structures are nothing but the eyes of the potato, and the name which is given to this modified underground stem of potato is tuber. Okay, so this in turn, when this grows into a plant, so this actually, what is this? It is actually reproducing. We are getting new plants. So from old plants, so the stem of the potato is used for giving new plants. So here also we are not forcing the potato to form the aerial shoots. It just happens under favorable condition on its own. Similarly, if we take the example of onion, the bulb of the onion, this portion of the onion, this swollen portion of the onion is known as the bulb of the onion. Like how it is called the tuber of potato, similarly it is called the bulb of onion. It is a short underground vertical shoot with thickened leaves. So this is also a vertical shoot. So here roots emerge from underside of the stem. So here if you see, roots emerge from the bottom side of the stem. So a modified stem also forms the base of the bulb. So here this modified stem forms the base of the bulb. Right? So here we have a disc-like structure. Now here on the surface of the onion, these structures which you see, these lines which you see, they are nothing but the scales, the scale leaf of the onion. Here if you look at this position of the onion, here you can see the axillary buds. So buds arise here. So here you have the axillary buds, and the buds in turn can give rise to a new plant altogether, right? So similarly, like how I gave you example of potato and onion, similarly you can also consider the example of ginger. So in ginger also, if you look at the structure of the ginger, you see some, like how you have in potato some dot structures. Similarly in ginger also you have little similar structure like that on the surface of the ginger. So they are the nodes of the ginger from where new buds can arise, right? So these are some of the modified stems which can actually help in vegetative propagation. So let us now talk about vegetative propagation by leaves. So how leaves help in giving rise to new plants? So buds are formed along leaf margins which later give rise to a new plant. So the most common and most popular example of this is the bryophyllum. So bryophyllum is also known as the miracle leaf plant. Why? Because the leaf of this plant is designed in such a way that at every notch on the margin of the leaf, this is known as the border of the leaf, is called the margin of the leaf. Now on the margin of the leaf you have notch like this, right? That is each corner, every corner of the leaf. At every corner of the leaf you will see a new bud is rising, and this bud gradually forms a new plant. So the buds are formed at the leaf notches, and these buds fall in the soil. Like once they get detached from the leaf, they fall in the soil, and from that soil they give rise to new plants. So again in the new plant, then their leaf will again have small buds at their notches, which in turn will again give rise to new plants. This is quite surprising, right? But that is how it is. So we saw that this natural vegetative propagation in plants happen with the help of their roots, with the help of their stems, as well as with the help of their leaves. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.